Cypress Financial Group presents the Retirement Roundtable podcast with John Scallan. Get more at cypressfinancial.net. Now, let's get to the show.
My name is Mark Owens. John, we're here this weekend, so I guess that means we didn't win the $1.7 billion lottery.
I've been asking you for those numbers for quite some time. I think have you been hoarding them? What's the story?
Had I won, it may not have been obvious, but you would know, because I'd be on my way to Vegas and I'd fly the private jet, land it in front of your house, pick you up and say, pack up, let's go.
Or I'd be here all alone talking to myself, right?
You know, John, there is something to be said. With the lottery that big, the chances of winning are so small. But there is a reality, and we've talked about it here before on the Retirement Roundtable, about the chance that we could get an inheritance. We've talked about the silver tsunami. The boomers in the next 8 to 10 years will be passing down over $86 trillion. What if we are preparing for an inheritance? What should we do to prepare for what could be life-changing amount?
Well, Mark, I think we've again talked about this fairly recently on this show. We've talked about, communication, right? Do you have a plan? Do you have a will? Even before those steps, have you communicated with your family, with your children, exactly what you have, exactly where you want these assets to go, and then to formalize this process? Maybe it requires bringing in an estate planning attorney if the size of what you're trying to leave behind, doesn't require kind of the heavy legal and accounting work. The very basics are communication with family and then formalizing this with a will and a written plan about where you want this money to go to.
If you think that there may be an inheritance in your future, or if you're excited about all your hard work and passing that down, that's why we invite you to reach out to the team at Cypress Financial, 504-732-1001 to have a deeper form of this discussion. I'll tell you, John, hitting any of those numbers could cause a little bit of drama, cause your heart to flutter just a little bit. Might need to keep the doctor on speed dial, but I think that's worth mentioning. You're kind of like a doctor as well, because when we go to see our medical professional, we listen to what they say, we trust their advice. But for you, and for adults coming to see you the first time, you're offering information, you're offering education, but for a lot of people, they think you're just trying to sell a product.
Mark, that's exactly the problem. I mean, people think they need that, they need a certain amount of money before they're worthy of professional advice. Mm-hmm. I mean, I meet regularly with couples who have $50,000, $100,000, and they're literally apologizing that they don't have enough money to work with an advisor.
But isn't there some truth to that, though? Don't most advisors, don't you want the big fish, if you will, not like the guppies?
Mark, I get why people think that. I mean, I really do. Here's what most people don't realize. Those early years of building wealth, that's when professional guidance really makes the difference, in the early years or even in the later years. Mark, I've had people walk in the door with a small amount of money. They kind of sheepishly tell me that they're really upset that they didn't do the right job in terms of investing or growing it. Look, Mark, sometimes all that money goes straight into an emergency fund or a money market fund, and then we go ahead and work on the budget. So again, it's not about how much you have. It's about taking that first step, building a plan, and figuring out what is the best way to utilize the capital that I actually have.
So what about for the adults that maybe, shop around trying to find the best financial advisor that fits their needs, but they walk out, and we've heard it before, they'll say, look, I thought I found somebody I like, but I felt like they were just trying to sell me 3 different policies that I don't need. They're trying to push this product on me. How do you address that fear, if you will, with adults?
Mark, let me be just completely transparent here. That's exactly why our process is different. Our first meeting, Listen, it's completely about understanding the client's situation. We really want the clients to come in and talk. We're going to ask questions. We're really going to try to figure out where you want to go. What do you want to do? What does retirement look like for you? We don't talk product. We don't talk recommendations. We gather information and then we educate the client about their potential options and what we'll discuss in the next meeting.
On that initial consultation, that's why we always say the initial consultation is no cost, it's no obligation. There's no monetary conversation exchanging hands on that first meeting with you and the team at Cypress Financial.
I mean, Mark, we don't make money on the first meeting. We don't make money on the first several meetings. Mark, our goal is to provide tremendous value up front so that people can make informed decisions. Think about this. Would you rather work with someone who's trying to sell you a product or an insurance policy in the first 5 minutes? Or would you like to work with someone who takes their time to understand what makes your situation unique?
A couple of meetings to get to know each other. John, you got to figure out what my needs are. And John, let's be honest, I'm going to be vetting you and the team at Cypress Financial as well. But some people are probably listening to this right now and they're thinking, John, what's the catch? Because nobody works for free.
Look, Mark, the catch is very, very simple. We only want to work with people who genuinely need our help and are committed to their financial future. If someone comes in and their investments are perfectly allocated, their fees are reasonable, and the strategy, their investment strategy makes sense, we tell them exactly that. We'd rather have a reputation for honesty, fair dealings, and integrity than to try to fix something that absolutely is not broken.
So somebody's listening this weekend, John, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm ready to get serious about putting a strategy, a retirement plan together. What's the first step?
Mark, here's something that everybody can do today. Ask yourself 3 fundamental questions. Do I know exactly how my money is invested? Do I know if I'm taking the appropriate risk for my age and my goals? And do I know, this is the big one, when I might run out of money in retirement? If you can answer these with confidence, that's your wake-up call. These are not complicated questions, but most people at some point realize, many people, that they really have no idea what the answers are. These are things you can do in your quiet time, when you're having a couple of coffee in the morning, doodling on a notepad. These are the critical questions that really will determine what type of retirement that you're looking at.
Do I know exactly how my money is invested? Do I know if I'm taking appropriate risk for my age and my goals? And do I know when I might run out of money in retirement? 3 important questions to ask yourself, John. But what if I can't answer those?
Then it's time to get educated, Mark. Talk to a qualified financial advisor. If you have a financial advisor, pick up the phone and say it's time for a review. Whether that's through us or someone else, nobody should be flying blind with their financial future, Mark. The cost of not knowing these answers is usually far greater than the cost of getting a qualified professional financial advisor who is always going to put your needs first.
John, we were just talking about investments, and most people have no idea how their investments are actually allocated or how much risk they're taking. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, John. Isn't that partly the fault of the financial industry for making everything so complicated that regular people can't even understand it?
You know, Mark, you are not wrong. The complexity is often, it's unnecessary. But here's what really concerns me. I regularly see people who've been working with advisors for years and still don't understand their basic investment strategy. I mean, look, just last month, I completed a review with a 65-year-old who had just retired. He'd been with another advisor for over a decade. But when we ran his investments through our risk assessment tools, he was taking aggressive growth level risk. I mean, we have a scoring system that scores, as low as a 1 for the ultra conservative portfolio and, 100 for the ultra aggressive portfolio. This particular gentleman scored an 85, 85% of stocks in his first year of retirement.
How does somebody who's been working with an advisor for years, as you just said, how does he end up in such a risky position right when they retire? Whose fault is that?
Mark, I just want to say this for all transparency. I believe 95% of all advisors in this great state throughout this country are top quality, and they really exercise the fiduciary standard. Look, this gentleman might have walked in the door and said, I'm ultra aggressive, I've got plenty other assets, and I'm willing to roll the dice. But really, what it boils down to is this: that's the $1 million question. Mm-hmm. His previous advisor had been collecting fees, but potentially never adjusted the allocation or the diversification as he approached retirement. When we had time to complete our risk survey, which, by the way, you can take on our website without ever walking into our office, we discovered he wanted a moderate aggressive approach, not full-blown aggressive, pedal to the metal. Again, we were able to recommend an allocation that better suited his risk tolerance and better suited how we felt he should allocate the assets that he had prepared for retirement.
And by the way, John, that risk survey, you can find it at cypressfinancial.net, CYPRESS, cypressfinancial.net to take that risk survey. But John, if somebody who's been working with a professional advisor ends up in that situation, what does that say about the rest of us or rest of adults who are managing their own investments on their own?
Mark, if I'm being completely honest, it means that there are a lot of people who are potentially in worse shape than they realize. I mean, look, think about it. At least this gentleman was paying someone, even if that someone wasn't doing their job properly. The average person managing their own 401k, they set it up once when they get hired and they never look at it again. This is a really critical mistake. If you have not looked at your 401k, if you don't want to look at it when the market is down, I would really encourage you, start reading those statements when they hit your inbox or hit your mailbox. This is critical information for your financial future.
So we can be taking too little risk and not know it, just like we could be taking too much risk and not know it, John.
Yeah, Mark, that's exactly correct. Most people, or many people, have no idea if they're taking appropriate risk for their age and their assets. The investments of any person who's in the market must match their goals or what they're paying for in fees. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the reality that we see almost every week here in our office.
So that kind of mismatch, John, pretty common?
More common than you'd think. I mean, look, it wouldn't be a stretch to say 40, 50% of the portfolios that we review have, some kind of allocation mismatch with the person's actual risk tolerance and timeline. The good news is simply this: once you understand what you actually own, you will be relieved to finally have the clarity to understand the path that you're on and to have the information to help you make better decisions for your financial future.
Because at the end of the day, income is the outcome that matters the most in retirement. So, John Scallan, as we're talking about investments, we're talking about our 401k, too much risk, not enough risk. What can we do right now?
Listen, here's your homework. Pull out your most recent 401k or investment statement and look for one number. Mark, what percentage of your account is in stocks? What percentage of your account is in fixed income, annuities, structured notes, things that are not as aggressive as stocks? Look at those percentages and ask yourself, does this match what I thought I owned? Many people are truly shocked to discover they had no idea what that mix was or actually is. Feel free to call our office, 504-732-1001. You can email us at info@cypressfinancial.net. Have those numbers handy. We will give you a quick breakdown of your situation. We're happy to give you honest, real feedback on whether you're in the right ballpark or not.
Earlier in the show, John, we were talking about and dreaming a bit, if you will, about winning the lottery. What do we do first? What's next? How much will our life change? But a lot of us also dream about retiring early. Dr. Carl Zars from Idaho treats thousands of elderly patients. He's noticed something troubling about people who do just that and retire early.
I can tell you from treating thousands of patients that the people that stay working, they stay mentally sharp, physically sharp, on a level that is not even close to people that retire. And I can always identify the early retirees based on how they act, how they talk, how they move. There's just a huge difference. So I would encourage you that if you're planning on retiring early, give yourself a good self-analysis and say, is this because I hate the people I work with? Is this because my energy is low? Is this because I'm depressed? I mean, there's something in there that's making you want to leave.
I love the honesty there. Is this because I hate the people I work with? I get it. John, these are tough questions that you have to ask about your quality of life, your long-term income planning, your health care. Because, John, I'll be honest, if I had the opportunity to retire right now, I wouldn't ask myself these questions. I'd pull the trigger and I'd do it.
You know, Mark, that's one of the problems when we dig deep into what retirement actually means to each client. I mean, we hear all kinds of different answers. I know what people are thinking. I just want to know if I have enough money to quit working. But here's what I've learned. Having enough money to stop working and having enough purpose to stay fulfilled in my life. Do I have purpose? Do I have a reason to get up? Again, these are two completely different things.
But John, for a lot of people, doing nothing. We work 90,000 hours in our working life. What is wrong with doing nothing?
Well, Mark, I've seen a lot of people retire early thinking, listen, I'm finally going to be happy, only to discover that without structure and purpose, they find themselves a little lost, a little empty within 6 to 12 months. I mean, here's what we do differently at Cypress. Before we even run the numbers, I mean, we talked about our first meeting and you know, what does that look like? We spend time talking about what would bring them fulfillment. Listen, the X's and O's and the dollars and cents in retirement are extremely important. I know we talk about that every single week, but the intangibles of retirement, who will I hang out with? What does my social support network look like? Am I going to lose the 12 different long-term friendships that I spent working in a certain industry for, you know, my entire career? What about all of these intangibles? What about the things you've always dreamed of? Do you have the resources? You know, because if the answer is, when talking to these pre-retirees, is I don't know, they're really not ready to retire, regardless of the size of their bank account, Mark.
You are talking people out of retiring from something, and you're more interested in helping us retire to something. Is that fair to say, or is that?
Well, I mean, Mark, I guess not exactly. I mean, we help them retire to something meaningful, not just run away from something unpleasant like a job. Listen, I've had clients discover they love mentoring. I talk about this brilliant engineer that I'm so, I admire him and respect him so much, had lots of money, got to where the dream of playing golf every day really didn't move the needle for him. But eventually he found that getting back to teaching young men and women about engineering, really having a reason, a feeling of contributing to the lives of these young people in South Louisiana, it really flipped the switch from someone who was, I don't want to call him depressed, but he was certainly in a bit of a funk. And we had talked about it at length. When he finally added that piece to his retirement, it absolutely changed the direction of his life 100% for the better.
Somebody's thinking about it this weekend. They're listening to the Retirement Roundtable. They're thinking about that early retirement, but not really planned what comes next. What should be next for these adults?
Try this exercise. If you're listening and this is, an issue for you, you're not quite sure. For the next month, spend your weekends like you're already retired. No work emails, no work thoughts. See how you feel by Sunday morning. Are you energized? Are you fulfilled? Or are you actually climbing the walls? This will really tell you more about your retirement readiness than any financial calculator or any financial advisor for that matter. I mean, if you're bored after 2 days of, quote, freedom, you might not be ready to retire. You need to find your purpose first.
John, how can we reach out to you and the team at Cypress Financial?
504-732-1001. Again, we spend a lot of time just game planning, meeting new people just over the telephone. Again, I mentioned earlier, we can do Teams meetings, Zoom meetings, if that better fits your schedule. 3421 North Causeway Boulevard. If you'd like to come here, kick the tires, meet us in person. We're on Florida Street in Mandeville on the North Shore. cypressfinancial.net. Many of our clients just go online and shoot us an email. We're easy to find. We're going to be easy to talk to. And again, we truly care about you.
Investment advisory services offered through Cypress Financial Group, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Cypress Financial Group, John Scallan, Louisiana Insurance License Number 1064997. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Cypress Financial Group. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties.